Hi, my name is Vivek Tiwari, and today we'll be reviewing a fraction of human creativity. I had the distinct pleasure of visiting the Triton Museum of Art here in California. And looking back and thinking about my experience, I think if given a choice, every human would choose to indulge in its artistic endeavor. I had the rare privilege and opportunity to actually capture some of the rare masterpieces which I'm going to share with you today. So let's dive right in. The first masterpiece I'm going to talk about is actually a self-portrait by an artist. The artist imagined herself contained in a white box and is actually being molded by the box itself. Imagine the courage it takes to actually put yourself on the canvas with all the flaws and not thinking about how other people would think of you or look at you. It really takes some courage, but it also paints a mental picture of how we go through life, at least to me. Because it is how a society molds us and how we sometimes kind of box ourselves too much. And we have to get out of it. But it's a good example of a fine art piece, I would say. So I was really impressed by it. The second picture actually is an oil painting. And more importantly, when I looked at it from far, it looked to me as a plaster pattern, like a concrete pattern that has broken and things like that. When I went close to it, actually was an oil painting, but it looks so realistic. I'm not sure that a photograph was able to capture it or not. But when you looked at it from far, it looked to me like a plaster pattern. And when I got close, it was just a picture. In fact, it's not a picture, it's a painting, it's an oil painting, and a remarkable work done, to be honest. The third masterpiece is actually quite, bold. Because there's a lot of symbolism going on in here, at least to my understanding. It actually represents peace and a heart full of peace. And more importantly, the nurturing and how life is born out of it. Essentially, you can actually see there's the vulva and the clitoris. Okay, and it's a rare symbolism that actually is a very interesting way to capture something like that. The fourth masterpiece, well, the moment I saw this, I was convinced because I didn't even have to read anything. The moment I saw the waves, the way the waves were done, I thought it was a scene out of a Japanese storyline. Okay, and this is something that you actually observe in Japanese animations. And interestingly, it's a Golden Gate Bridge that is painted and done by an American, but beautifully captured. And I was it just took me back to the memories of the Japanese animated, cartoons that I would watch as a kid. The next picture I'm going to talk about has a whole lot of symbolism. Like, I cannot imagine the amount of symbolism that is going on here, because it really captures the plight of essentially man living in fear for the past century and beyond. Whether it's fear of, going to hell, or fear of some other human itself. Okay, and there's a lot of symbolism down from 19th century, 20th century, and going into 21st century, and the things that are happening around the world. It's a very fine piece of art to capture the entire, centuries worth of fear that has grappled man to take actions and cause atrocities across the world in such one fine painting. It's really remarkable. This piece actually, it's a handmade craft. And it's actually sewn from cotton, the different patterns and intricacies. I couldn't believe it was done by hand. Like, it was, it's just a piece of fine craft. I could imagine something like that, a pattern, to be in some sort of a shawl that I could wear, or on a winter, in a winter morning, in my walk, as a fashion statement, while I'm wearing some a long overcoat in a New York winter. But it's a very interesting pattern, all handmade, and really remarkable piece. Okay, this fine piece has a lot going on in here. Okay, first of all, the colors itself, it goes from multiple shades of it. There's a lot of symbolism here again. At one point, the most catchy thing was in all these colors with yellow to pink, there's a skull in between that is black, and there's a bunch of black elements. And I was very fascinated by it. Okay, what's going on in this artist's mind? That is, and I would actually want to talk about this one with the artist, because I personally couldn't make sense of actually what exactly he wanted to portray. But it was very interesting piece to me, just based on the color combinations and the interesting center skull that is black, by the way. So moving on. Okay, this is an interesting canvas of, I think I could see a lot of let's say flower petals going on, but there's a way in which this was painted. There's a lot of, let's say, drips that are going on and the patterns created by the drips, but I could imagine how the artist created the drip. There's two specific drips that I could feel that was created by multiple, let's say, shaking of the canvas. And here's why I say that. Okay, so what I found was that, or I could realize, is that the artist put, let's say, thick bulges or thick drops of paint on the canvas, and then took the canvas and made it stand vertically. When he or she did that, I forgot the name, that's why I'm saying he or she. When he did that, the paint dripped. But what happened was that when he did for the next one, he or she did for the next one, the other paint was not really, let's say, dried. And so the other bulb also actually dripped further and created some interesting patterns in the painting. It's again a very fine piece of and play of colors. This next piece really felt as a psychedelic image, to be honest. It's like a struggle of man, woman, and the body and spirit with nature in itself. If I was ever high, this is what nature would look like to me, and surroundings would look like to me. That's what exactly it felt. And it was not just one painting; it was an entire gallery of such psychedelic kind of paintings, which is very fascinating to me. This piece particularly captures two ladies, okay, and you really have to get close to capture the details and nuances on the skin. I was amazed how this artist did it, because it literally captured the light of skin and the, let's say, shadows, and let's say the granules on your skin, okay, the small hair follicles, and if you go very close you can see all of that in this painting. I'm not sure if the picture was able to capture it, but it's a really fine painting and a very interesting one. I really liked it just because of the amount of detail it had on the skin itself. Okay, of course there's a lot of symbolism, but that's for some other day. Oh, this one was very interesting to me. I think I really personally would like to purchase this because I saw this as a hand reaching for a higher power, or the higher power reaching the hand. Either way, the symbolism here is not a figurative imagination of higher power, but actually a beam of light. But more interesting to me at that point was that the way the pattern or the photons were drawn, essentially, okay? Because if you think about it, there's a hand in the in the air, or vacuum for that matter, okay? And there's photons, okay? And the photons are actually sort of acting as a noise, as if there's something there, that there's some medium there. It could be dust or anything, but the way artists did it, I cannot imagine how much time it would have taken to just draw each of them, because they are, if I'm not wrong, it's not a sponge or something that was just used to create it. I think it was done through a paintbrush, if I'm not wrong. But this was again a masterpiece, because you see this as a symbol of a lady almost hidden. But what I see here is that the red garment that is drawn, it had such fine details into it. I couldn't imagine, okay, how long it took. More importantly, you have to understand the play of light and dark, because the whole background is dark, it's black. There's a beam of light in the front, but nothing is going in the back, by the way, okay? It's all on the lady. And lady herself is hidden with just a symbolism of her body or her bosom, basically indicating that she's a lady, because otherwise no one can actually figure that out, right? Otherwise. But just the way the red, let's say, apparel is drawn, it was just so pleasing to the eye for me, okay? And something I would definitely like to add to my collection. Okay, this was an interesting one. I'll give you a background, okay? The artist's name is Anastasia. And if anyone has seen 50 Shades of Grey, you can see, you can understand how Anastasia looked and how this looked, this painting looks, or the lady in this painting looks. But it's a fine example of, let's say, just pure solitude. Okay, and it was really pleasing to the eye. Okay, this one, and I think this and the other one that I'm going to talk about, it's by the same painter. It's an oil painting. The artist has an incredible grasp of real life scenarios, okay? And he does that with a play of light and dark, the shadow and light, to make it so realistic. Like when I was looking at this painting, I could imagine a scene like that happening outside of building. I could imagine such a scene like that, okay? The light, the shadows, the building itself, and somehow even with the oil painting, captured a lot of detail. And to me, it's a fine piece of art, like it's a masterpiece. Both these paintings, okay? Again, a dark one. It's really remarkable how he played with light and dark. This last one is really a collage of memories. It reminds me of the situation where you are in your head and you're going through multiple scenarios of your life, traveling through trains, sitting on that bench, going somewhere, being with someone, or noticing the trees. There's so many things and memories that sometimes just goes through your head at one point in time, and you're not really focusing on either of them, but this is just a collage of memories that you go through, okay? So these are some excellent examples of masterpieces that had the distinct privilege to actually witness and the rare opportunity to capture some of these images. I must say I'm really grateful for the Triton Museum of Art for actually allowing to click some images. Of course, there's a rule to it that you don't ever put on the flash because the photons can actually damage the painting itself. Okay, so be careful about that. But it was a true privilege, and hopefully you like some of these artworks, and if you like some more of it, do share with me. I would like to talk more about it. I would like to review it, and if possible, I would like to buy it as well. So with that, it was a pleasure sharing with you guys. See you next time.